He said, "I'm leaving," and I snapped.
When he wanted out,
she disregarded our relationship altogether.
You were throwing his stuff.
I was launching it at him.
Did she hold him hostage?
I ended up locking the doors on him because he's trying to bail on me. I was trying to show him, don't just leave me.
Judge Judy.
He doesn't care whether he doesn't see you until it freezes over.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judy Sheindlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy.
23-year-old Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, are suing Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Gilbert Leal, for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent. Gilbert is countersuing, claiming Elizabeth destroyed his belongings after they broke up.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Your Honor, this is case number 43 on the calendar in the matter of McManus versus Leal. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sure, have a seat.
All right, Mr. McManus, it is your claim that the defendant, Mr. Leal, owes you, really you and your wife, for 2 loans that you made to him during the course of his relationship with your daughter.
Correct.
One was for $1,500 towards the purchase of a car for him.
Yes.
The second was $125 that he needed because he was short of rent, and he called you and asked you for the money. Mr. Leal says that you generously agreed to help him buy this car, and it was a gift. The $1,500 was a gift, and as was the $125 that you gave him towards the rent. Mr. Leal is counterclaiming because he says when he attempted to break off the relationship with your lovely daughter, she threw a hissy fit and broke a whole bunch of his property. Yes. Correct, sir? I'm going to start with you. When were you and Elizabeth dating?
January, I believe.
Of what year?
Was it 2003?
Elizabeth, when?
It was in March of 2003.
And there was a time that you lived together. Would you tell me when that was?
After dating there, we actually both moved to Michigan, where I went to school at, and Mr. McManus wasn't too happy there.
Oh, this is a whole saga here. When did you live together, Mr. Leal?
But I moved down, and that was in January, I believe.
2004?
Yes.
Now, you didn't have a car.
No.
You were sharing a car with Elizabeth?
Yes.
You wanted your own car, and you approached your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed to give you how much money?
They gave me about $3,900.
Go ahead.
I found a car that was well decently priced for $4,900.
You saw a car for $4,900.
Mm-hmm.
All you had was $3,900.
Mm-hmm. So
what did you do, Gilbert?
I didn't really think twice about it. At the time, I didn't really find anything that was working with $3,900.
Life is very short.
Right.
And I have a lot of work to do.
Right.
So, you have $3,900.
Mm-hmm.
The car you want is $4,900.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
Well, we were living together, like you already know. At the time, me and Elizabeth kind of briefly discussed it a little bit, but it still wasn't anything, too serious. So her dad approached me with helping me.
Gilbert, at some point you had to call Mr. McManus and say, I have $3,900. The car I want is $4,900. Can you help me out?
Right.
So, I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's not what I do. How did the McManuses find out that the car you sought exceeded your bank account?
Through Elizabeth.
Did you discuss with your parents the fact that his eyes were bigger than his stomach?
Yes, Your Honor, and there was a...
Just a second.
Okay.
So he told you, and you went to your parents.
Uh-huh. He also spoke to my parents.
Just a second. Who went there first, Elizabeth?
Me. Okay.
And what did you say to mother and or father?
I told them that Gil had backed my car into someone else's car in a Taco Bell parking lot and took off paint that he said he was going to pay for, and that the whole car situation wasn't working out, and he needs a car so he can get to work and I can do my thing. Can you...
That's what you told your parents?
Yes.
Can you what?
Can you help him out by giving him a loan?
Who did you discuss it with, your father or your mother?
My mom.
What did your mother say?
We had offered to loan Gil the money well before he found the car, and then they moved down here, and he found the car, and then Elizabeth called and said, you know, he could really use that help of that loan that you had offered him, because the car that he wants is $5,000, and his parents was able to give him $3,500, and so we gave Gil a loan for $1,500.
That was in February of 2004?
Yes.
And when did you break up?
March 14th, 2004.
So, a couple of weeks later, right? But there was a second loan. What was the second loan about?
Well, before they moved down, I had told him that if he needed help making the rent, food, whatever, to cover his share, if he were to advise me if he was in any problem, that I would be willing to help. He called me directly on the phone, said he was short of the rent. I knew that she didn't want to hear about that problem because she was struggling to make up her end
So you
of
gave
it.
him $125.
On the condition he'd pay me back when the first time he got paid, which would have been within 10 days, as I remember it. I've never heard from him since.
Now, a couple of weeks later, you decided you wanted out of this relationship. Tell me why.
We had been arguing pretty much when we moved in. It was just tough on us. I wasn't working full time, and she then started talking with her ex-boyfriend and different things like that, and disregarded our relationship altogether. I said it wasn't going to work out, so
Now let's
I
get to your
decided to leave.
counterclaim, Gilbert.
Well, counterclaim was that day that I moved out that night. She decided to help me move by breaking my stuff and throwing it at me. On top of that, I had two items that were very close to me and very personal to me that she threw and lost.
Allow me to intervene if I may. I was,
Okay.
if I could be so bold, Judge.
Can't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You double lock the door from the inside. Nasty. Take your hands off your hip.
Sorry. Yes, I agree. That was nasty. And he said, I'm leaving. And I snapped.
And later today,
You have a drug problem?
No, ma'am.
So then why weren't you working?
We were working. It
Well,
was
two
just
people working, it would seem to me you could have some sort of place for your children.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, claim Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, Gilbert Layell, owes for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent.
Go ahead.
We did have a big fight. And what he's referring to is that he left the apartment for 2 hours. Didn't tell me where he was going. Nothing. And I ended up locking the doors on him. And I went to bed. And so whenever he came back, he's pounding on the door. And I wasn't going to let him in
I
because...
mean, you double lock the door from the inside. Nasty.
I was trying to do that.
Yeah, take your hands off your hip.
Sorry. Yes, I agree. That was nasty. I was trying to show him that don't just leave me for hours and don't tell me where you go. So what I'm trying to get at is that he came in the house and it ended up that he said, I'm sick of this. I'm leaving. And I snapped. Your Honor, I was very upset because we have this agreement to be living together and he's trying to bail on me. So I said, I will help you move out. And I took his things and I went like that. And the rock he was referring to and an angel that were important to him, the last I ever saw those items were on the bed.
What did you break, Elizabeth?
I don't believe I broke anything.
You were throwing his stuff.
I shoved it off the table. I didn't, throw it as like launching it at him.
You didn't pick up my glasses and throw them at me, crush them and throw them at me?
I tossed things across the room.
Elizabeth, now your brother is dying to say something. Was he there that evening?
He was not there that fight.
Mr. McManus, you want to say anything?
Yeah, briefly, when
Well, then stand up.
Stand up by me, honey.
When Gil was moving out the final time, he was fully packed, and at no point did I witness any destructive act.
Well, your sister already has told me that she threw his stuff around, right? So you're not going to say she
certainly can't
didn't
dispute that.
because she couldn't. Good.
But I don't believe that it was a result in any destructiveness, meaning his items at no point, to my observations, were broken as a result of any arguable tantrums.
Good.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When Elizabeth and Gil came home, and Elizabeth found out about the $125, what came out was, Mom, he wasn't short $125. He's still short $200 for the rent. I have a hole in my wall. I have a hole in my door because he's gotten upset and he's creating damage. And I said to Elizabeth at that time, he can't stay. You know, I don't mind supporting you. You're my daughter. I'm not going to support your boyfriend.
I got it. I got it. One of the problems is your husband, behind his daughter's back, had a conversation with Gilbert. He was well-meaning, but he said to Gilbert, look, so you're going to be short. If you're short, you let me know because I'll help you out. I can understand why Elizabeth was annoyed because he's supposed to be taking care of business and he wasn't taking care of business. Right, Elizabeth?
Yes, and...
All right. But I'm going to tell you something. Something that you said to me was really kind of stupid. And that is, if he decided to move out because you weren't getting along, why you lost your temper, I don't know. I would have thrown him a party. Not thrown his things. I would have thrown him a party. And you really had no right to lock him out of the apartment because irrespective of where he got the money, he was paying rent. Now, Gilbert, your parents love you?
Yes.
Is that why they were helping you with your money?
Yes.
Mr. McManus doesn't love you. And the reason he was helping you was because of his daughter, not because of you. He doesn't care whether he doesn't see you starting today until hell freezes over. Now, are you a moral person, Gilbert?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. You see, now, if I was superstitious, I would say, when you sneeze after you say something, it's because you're telling the truth. So Mr. McManus really doesn't care whether he sees you from today until hell freezes over.
Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, claim Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, Gilbert Layell, owes for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent.
Are you working now, Gilbert?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get to work last week?
Another car that I own.
When did you sell the Camaro, Gilbert?
No, I didn't sell the Camaro yet. But
Where
I'm
is
going
it?
To. It's in my possession.
What kind of car did you buy, Gilbert?
Just another commute car, like a little Civic.
Why would you do that, Gilbert?
I planned on selling the Camaro, so I needed something that was a little less. The Camaro was giving me a lot of problems as far as...
Well, I hope that you sell it for at least $1,500, Gilbert.
I hope.
Because you owe the McManuses $1,500. I'm surprised at you, sir. I'm really surprised that you committed yourself to another car that you purchased and paid for while still having the old one and didn't have the good judgment and the moral compass to say, these people were nice to me, and I'm going to see to it that they get their money back. The $125 for rent, sir, that's your problem. Put your hand down. That's your problem. You offered, he accepted, he gave him $125. Don't do it again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500, which is the amount of money that you loaned him for the car. Now, as far as your personal property is concerned, Gilbert, you have photographs of the personal property that she destroyed?
No, I don't.
You have bills and receipts for the personal property she destroyed?
No, ma'am.
Well, I can't help you, sir. Thank you. That's all. Counterclaims dismissed.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I felt that I shouldn't have to pay $2,000 for a rock and a stone, especially to a pathological liar like he is.
The only thing I really cared about was my family things that were handed down to me.
What upset me was that he lied to them.
Well, after everything that was broken, I didn't really care.
He took advantage of me, too. I could go on and on, but that'd take all day.
She just was upset that I did that.
I think she's come away a little wiser for it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Plaster versus Deal. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Shirley Bonnie Plaster is suing her former friend, 25-year-old homemaker Tamara Deal, for unpaid child care fees. Tamara says Bonnie agreed to take her children so they wouldn't have to live in a gang-infested neighborhood.
Ms. Plaster, it is your claim that the defendant, who has 3 children, owes you for child care. Her children lived with you for a period of time. She gave you some money, but you still claim she owes you $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Deal says she owes you nothing because of one of 2 things. Either you waived any support during the mediation that you evidently had about something, and second, that there was never any agreement to pay you for taking care of her children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was she taking care of your children?
I had some problems in the neighborhood that I was living in, and it was basically a bad community, and I had to do what was best and get my children out of there as soon as possible.
And how long did they all stay with you?
From June the 11th, Bradley stayed with me until March the 4th, and then the others from August and October until March the 4th.
Where were you living during all of this time?
I recently...
Richard, don't look down. Look at me.
I recently moved out of the apartment that I was moving in because of the community, and I went to stay in hotels. That's why I thought it was best that Bonnie helped me out and take care of my kids.
Who were you living in the hotels with?
Me and the father of my children.
You have a drug problem?
No, ma'am.
Did he?
No, ma'am.
So then why weren't you working?
We were working.
Well, two people working, it would seem to me you could have some sort of place for your children.
Right. At the time, you know, struggling, trying to keep up the bill of the hotel and the gas to go back and forth to work and the money to eat on, it took us a long time to try to save the money up so that we could get on our feet.
You knew Miss Plaster through your mother, is that right?
Not only through my mother, but she took custody of my cousin when he was about 9 months old.
How old is he now?
16.
So she's a very good parent.
Yes.
What arrangements did you make to pay her for taking care of your children?
I gave her $150 a week, every week.
Is that right?
She was paying me $150, then she fell behind in November and stopped paying me.
How come?
Back in November, I lost my brother. I had to take some leave of absence from work, and when I went to go back to work in December, they asked me not to come back because I'd been off work for so long, so I wasn't getting a check every week. And then 2 weeks after that, my grandmother passed away as well.
Now, what about the father of these children?
He was with me.
Why wasn't he giving her any money?
He wasn't bringing home much. You know, $200-300 a week is basically getting us by. I mean, it's $350 for a week of hotel.
It's $350 a week for hotel, madam. You can find a small apartment for less than that.
No, not where we live.
Where do you live?
In Virginia.
Sure you
It's
can.
$1,200 a month for an apartment.
Yeah.
And when you're bringing home $300 a week, that's not making it much. It's
Well,
not
you
gonna
just
make a
told me it
rent
was
payment.
$350 a week for a hotel room.
Yeah, and we were struggling. And that's why I told Mrs. Plaster that when I got my taxes that I would give her some money because I didn't pay her in November when I lost my job.
So how much money did you give her?
$1,000.
And how much money do you owe her?
Nothing. After I gave her the $1,000, nothing was said until I was served with a court paper.
Ms. Plaster, I'll hear you.
She paid me $1,000 February the 12th, and I watched the kids from February the 12th to March the 4th when they took them out of there. She owed me $2,000 on February the 12th. She gave me $1,000.
So she owes you $1,600.
Right. But I rounded off to make it just even $1,500.
She said in November, I assume when you stopped working, you got behind.
Correct.
And you were behind $2,000. You gave her $1,000 at that time in February.
That's not right. I mean, a month, that's $600. Okay, that's what I, you know, if I owe her anything, that's what I should have been owing her. But I gave her the $1,000 in February because I didn't give her any money for December.
When you gave her the
end of November.
$1,000 in February, did you take your children home?
No, I took them home
Just a
in
second.
March.
So they stayed with her for another month, another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Are they with you now?
Yes, they are.
Who else do you live with?
The father of my kids.
You have 3 children with this man. Is there any reason why you're not married to him?
The time isn't right. I mean...
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
You know, a week after I sent my children to her, a guy got shot in the neighborhood.
Now I'm missing the kids because they had to move back with her.
We're still going to be friends, communicate. I don't have any problems against her. I just wish maybe she could have talked to me about it more.
She just wouldn't pay me the money.
I'm very appreciative of what she has done for me. Like I said, I tried to help her out the best I could.
Amber Smith is suing her sister, Vanessa Franks, for selling her cockatoo and keeping the proceeds.
Miss Smith, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this case is not going to take long, Bird. Don't get comfortable, because I quite frankly don't understand what the defense is in this case. You sold your sister a bird, an exotic bird. What kind of bird was it?
She was a Moluccan cockatoo.
And you charged her how much for the bird?
Only $700 for the bird in the cage, which is normally worth a lot more.
Please. That's not complicated. You charged her $700.
Yes.
And she was going to pay you.
Yes.
Little bits. And she paid you some. How much did she pay you?
She paid me $100 in November.
And then she stopped making payments.
Yes.
Your sister says that you were supposed to come and get the bird because her daughter had some sort of an illness, that she couldn't be in the house with the bird. She told you to come and get the bird. You didn't come and get the bird, so she sold it.
Yes, ma'am.
And sold it for?
$500.
$500. And you took the $500 and you?
Put it in the bank.
That's my question, Miss Franks. If you sold the bird,
yes, ma'am,
you think you're entitled to sell the bird and keep the money instead of paying your sister for the bird?
Okay. In November, my daughter's lungs bled in November of 2004. I called my sister on the phone, stated to her, I'm either going to have to sell this bird or you can have the bird back. She said, we want the bird back, don't sell the bird. They came for Thanksgiving. You taking the bird? No, we're not taking the bird. Christmas, are you taking the bird?
Miss Franks, is what you're telling me, just put your hand down. Is what you're telling me that your daughter's lungs were bleeding because of the bird.
Right.
And you kept the bird in your house between November, when your daughter was diagnosed with this illness?
No, she's been diagnosed since birth.
Well, between the time you were told to get rid of the bird in November and you kept the bird till Christmas?
The bird was actually in my home until right at the beginning of May.
What town do you live in?
Milledgeville, Georgia.
Anywhere in the state of Georgia, do they have an animal rescue?
Not
of course
where
they
I
do.
live, no.
I don't care where you live or not. They do have trees in Georgia, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, if my child had bleeding lungs, and doctor told me in November that I had to get rid of this bird because this bird was causing my child's lungs to bleed, and if I couldn't find someone to take that bird, it is warm in Georgia, isn't it?
For part of the year, yes.
Well, I would hope that it was the right part of the year, because that window would be open, that bird would be gone. Madam, I don't understand where you're coming from. You're told that your daughter's lungs are bleeding because of this bird. And you keep the bird November, December, January, February, March, April, May! Where is your head?
She's my sister at the same time.
Please. Don't speak. Okay. Listen to me, Miss Smith.
Yes.
Your sister acknowledges that she told you she was going to give you $700 for the bird.
Yes.
I haven't heard anything cogent as to why she should be able to sell a bird that she didn't pay for and not pay for it. Anybody hear a reason? Hearing none, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
Benjamin Graham says former friend and landlord Lark Bowman stole belongings from his home when he went to jail.
Mr. Graham, according to the complaint that I read, you rented an apartment from Miss Bowman.
Yes.
When did you rent the apartment from her?
The summer of 2004.
July or August?
I'm not sure of the date on her.
When did he rent the apartment, Miss Bowman?
In the fall time of 2004.
Do we have a month?
Yeah, it was in November, actually.
Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
And then, according to you, Mr. Graham, you were incarcerated for a period of time, and you claim that Miss Bowman stole some of the property that was in your apartment when you were there. Miss Bowman says she did not do that. She says that your friend Gail, with whom you are currently living, who lives in the apartment complex, she took your property. She has no knowledge of your property. She did take a couple of things that she says she had loaned to you when you moved in. Those were bookshelves.
Correct.
And what else?
And a desk.
And a desk.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things that you indicate
I had many other things there that belonged to me, but I did not take them.
Bookshelves and a desk were the only two things that you removed from the apartment.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Graham, when were you incarcerated?
On the 22nd of May.
How long were you in jail?
40 days.
For what?
Drug paraphernalia possession.
What items do you claim that Ms. Bowman took from your apartment?
Couch, two couches, bedroom set, laptop computer, a variety of miscellaneous electrical items. I'm an electrician.
Like what?
Lights, ceiling fans, outlets.
You mean that weren't in the walls? That
Not
were
in the
just
walls.
there?
Yes, just there. Yeah.
So, tools of your trade. What
Yes.
else?
I had a variety of things that I had a list of, and unfortunately I didn't bring the list with me, but it was...
All right, Mr.
Okay.
Graham, what proof do you have that Miss Bowman, who denies that she took these things from your apartment, what proof do you have that she took them?
Well, besides the fact that my friend and neighbor was there when it was being taken, I also have some photos, Your Honor, that the neighbor who lived in the apartment across the driveway happened to take.
I'd like to see them.
Yes.
Who has a blue truck?
Nobody I know.
The truck is purple, Your Honor.
Purple truck.
My brother.
I'm going to ask you some questions. I better get a reasonable answer. Your last name is?
Bowman.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 39 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a painter.
Of houses?
Houses. I do maintenance. My sister owns rental properties.
So you work for your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you employed on an annual, or does she pay you periodically?
Periodically, hourly.
How long have you worked for your sister?
Here in the last 4 months,
Prior to that,
I worked as a forklift operator, supervisor.
you took your purple truck to Mr. Graham's house that he was renting, and you and your sister removed certain property. Is that correct?
My sister had called me at the end of May.
I have pictures. I just want you to know that I have
Right.
pictures.
I
So let's
understand.
not play with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked you a specific question. I said, did you go to the house and remove certain property that was in the house that Mr. Graham was renting?
The property that belonged to my sister.
The house that Mr. Graham was renting?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What property did you remove, sir?
There was a desk.
You'll be very careful.
Computer
Desk.
Yeah.
Go
Shelf,
ahead.
Old lamp.
A lamp. What else?
There was a few boxes, miscellaneous boxes.
Boxes. Say nothing, Miss Bowman. Boxes. What about tables, sir? Did you remove any little tables?
At
Did
the
you
time,
remove any little tables, sir?
Not that I recall, I didn't. Gail was there with her truck, too. In the process, I
I'm
was...
talking about a purple truck.
Yes, Your
That
Honor.
would be yours.
Yes, it would.
What color is your truck?
Brown.
Did you remove any upholstered pieces from the house, Mr. Bowman?
No,
You
Your
know
Honor.
what upholstered pieces are?
Rugs, upholstery,
I didn't say rugs. Rugs aren't upholstered pieces, sir. I'm talking upholstered pieces, usually chairs and sofas.
There was one sofa.
One sofa. Let's just get there. One sofa.
One sofa.
All right, so you removed a sofa. Now, there were some boxes. How many boxes were there, Mr. Bowman?
I would say 2 to 3.
And with your hands, show me how big the boxes were, sir.
I would say the boxes were that size.
What did you do with the boxes?
The boxes got thrown in the garbage along with the rest of the kitchen utensils, all the food that was spoiled and rotten,
Where did you throw them?
right there in the alley, in the garbage.
I'm asking you about the things that you put in your truck, sir.
Yeah, them items, them boxes, all was garbage. We were cleaning the apartment out to rent it out to another tenant while Mr. Graham had been in jail.
What did you do with the sofa, sir?
The sofa went down to our uncle's house, who said that he was going to use the sofa, which was...
Just answer my questions. I asked you what you did with the sofa. Sofa you brought to your uncle's house. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you do with the lamp?
The lamp was also with my uncle.
2 little end tables. Those go to your uncle's house, too, with the lamp?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how easy that was, Mr. Bowman?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. You got my drift.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'm 10 paces ahead of you, Miss Bowman. Your brother has just indicated, marginally, that your uncle has been the recipient of largesse in a sofa, end tables, and a lamp that we know about. That is not a desk and bookshelves. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
These photographs don't show a laptop computer, fans, tools, and other stuff. But, Miss Bowman, you took more out of his house than the desk that you let him borrow and the bookshelves. You know how I know that? Because he told me so. You lied when you told me that the only thing you removed from the house was a desk and bookshelves.
I didn't stay the entire time, so I don't know what else was there.
You lied when you told me that the only thing you removed were desks and bookshelves. He works for you. He is your employee. Anything that he did is attributable to you. He is your agent.
Gail, when I went in, Gail said, I'm going to pack up all Benjamin's stuff. Whatever's left there, I would have to go out to the dump. We moved 2 couches out to the dump.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. That could have been something that you told me. That you took, I'm speaking, that you took other items from the house, but you took them from the house because they were not being used. Your uncle would have put them to good use, so you took them. Because he was in jail and Gail told you to. You could have told me that. That's not what you told me. You told me that the only thing you removed from the house was a desk and bookshelves. And that, madam, was not true.
I didn't witness them taking anything else. I just asked about the shelf and the desk. And I've got pictures of Benjamin's car.
I'm going to explain something to you from my perspective.
Okay.
You're not telling the truth. Now, I could say that in many different ways. You see how dry-mouthed you get when you lie? When you lie, your mouth gets really, really dry, Miss Bowman. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Step out.
Gazina Jacobs is suing her former tenants, Benjamin Nelson and his girlfriend, Vanessa Enghorn, for rent, utility bills, and for severely damaging her rental property.
Ms. Jacobs, you rented a unit that you had, apartment.
Yes.
To the defendants. They were referred to you by a neighbor. According to your complaint, you had to evict them. They owed you rent. You want your rent. You want the damage that they did to your apartment, which you say was substantial. Mr. Nelson and Ms. Eichhorn say you owe them money. You kept their security deposit. They did not cause any damage to the unit. They were current in their rent until you shut off their electricity and their power, and they have a counterclaim. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Nelson?
I'm a handyman, mechanic, painter. I do a lot of things.
Do you work for anybody or you work for yourself?
I work for myself.
And what do you do?
I'm a hostess.
It's just the two of you in the unit? And how much was the rent?
$960 a month, plus electric and gas.
Which you were supposed to pay for yourself?
Yes.
When did you move in?
I believe it was September of '06.
When did they move in?
They moved in at the end of January of '07, and the lease agreement started 1st of February of '07.
I don't think that's right. We
Can I
lived
see
there
the
longer
lease,
than that.
please?
I have the lease agreement.
Are you on any prescribed medication, Mr. Nelson?
No.
You moved in February of '07, sir, not in September of '06. Okay. So, first let's start with the question of utilities. According to your answer, you say she agreed to rent us the unit and we signed the lease for $960 a month, including utilities. Now you say you were supposed to pay your own utilities.
Electric and gas, yes.
You were supposed to pay your own utilities. Did you put them in your name?
Right before we got evicted.
Eventually we had to.
What do you mean eventually you had to? You had to when you moved in February.
Well, they were in her name up until then because it was part of the agreement that our utilities would be included in the $960 rent.
Not according to him.
According to this evidence in these papers, that's what it was. It was in her name for a long time.
Well, it was, of course. It had to be in somebody's name.
Yes, and until she turned it off without notice.
Just a second. Were you supposed to pay the utilities?
Yes.
Why didn't you put the utilities in your name starting in February?
Because that wasn't part of the agreement that we had.
Of course it was.
We didn't have the money at the time.
That may be an answer.
So we agreed to do it when we had the money.
Yeah. Just a second. When did you have the money?
I believe April or May.
By April, she had already turned off the utilities.
That's when we got it in our name.
Because you didn't pay them. When did you move out?
We moved out around the beginning of June, around June 10th.
June 9th was our last day.
So you owe her rent for February, March, April, May, and June. 5 months.
No,
that is not true.
We've paid her up until like the last 2 months before we moved out.
I'm telling you that that's what you owe her.
Okay.
Show me that you paid 5 months' rent. If you didn't give her rent for 5 months, tell me when you stopped paying her rent.
I always brought her cash. I stopped paying her rent on about end of April. I stopped paying rent because I didn't have the money because I lost my job.
All right, fine. So far, you owe her $1,150 in rent, and you didn't pay the utilities for February, March, and April. I assume that they paid them in May because then they had to put them in their own name. At least
Yes,
you were off the
exactly.
hook. So how much did they owe you for utilities?
Utilities is, I got the receipts right here, $767.69.
Now, you have pictures of the damage to the apartment?
I sure do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
I have, there's several sets of pictures. I also have a list from the repair person and the checks that I did pay a person to repair the $4,000 worth of damages.
How did these holes get in the wall?
That was a prior roommate.
Whose roommate?
Ours. A bad selection of a roommate.
Well, you owe her for this damage.
Yes, I believe we do. We're responsible because...
You are.
it's
It's your
my
roommate. Go after you. Go find your roommate.
I'm putting in a small claim right now.
Go ahead.
That master bedroom, I know it was their bedroom, and right below those holes was their mattress. So, yeah, you can see her head there,
Your
right
Honor,
where he...
that is untrue. She's made a lot of allegations about us, about him doing bad things to hurt me, a lot of why those holes are in our walls. Is
When
from
was the
him
last
beating
time
me.
the police were called to any residence where you have ever lived for domestic violence?
Never. Just this once. If she'd called.
Just a second. When in any of your residences were the police called on a complaint of domestic violence?
None that we know of.
She just said once.
Well,
No,
we believe that's what she called about.
Yeah,
Because they showed up, but nothing was ever done about it because nothing was wrong.
They showed up at the residence because they were looking for him. Because
This
he was passed.
apartment is a pigsty. Don't you clean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we had a roommate that came in while we were at work and damaged a lot of
It's
stuff.
filthy. That doesn't happen from a messy roommate. That happens from people who live like pigs.
I don't live like a pig, Your Honor.
Well, you did. I never saw a place so filthy.
I had to go through my house in 2 days' time, and I had to pretty much tear everything apart that I had and find what was sentimental to me, pack it up, and then start throwing a lot of my things away.
Should have paid your rent.
Your Honor.
You should have paid your rent. That's what happens when you don't pay rent or utilities.
We had agreed to start paying it off. We had actually started paying it off. And
Listen, she's not your mother.
I know.
She's your landlord. The first thing that you did was you moved into the apartment. You were supposed to put the utilities in your name. You didn't. Then you have a counterclaim that she had no right to turn off the utilities because she got tired of paying $767 for your utilities. Well, then you had no choice, but you put them in your name. At least she's off the hook. I don't know whether you stiffed the utility company or not. I assume you did. Now, then you leave an apartment like a pigsty and you blame it on a roommate. Well, so far it's everybody's fault but yours. Everybody else is wrong. She's wrong.
I'm taking responsibility since it was my roommate.
I really think it was your roommate, sir.
We've had...
I don't necessarily think it was your roommate. I don't believe necessarily it was your roommate just because you say it. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand.
Good. I'm glad you do. Okay, so far you owe her $19.17 just for your rent and the utilities.
And that's the detailed list of what was repaired.
Nothing was repaired, Your Honor, except for the holes in the walls, because I live right next to that place, and so does my neighbor, and she happens to walk by and she sees our things are still being used. A refrigerator that she said was damaged that we need to pay for to replace, still being used. It was like that before we moved in.
Show them these pictures, please.
The refrigerator was not repaired, and the refrigerator I'm not suing for. I'm just suing for the repairs Mr. Bean did on my rental unit.
Your Honor, I was going through all these items. That's why it looks like a pigsty like this.
Hey, just take a look at the toilet. The toilet isn't going through the items. That toilet hasn't been cleaned, it looks like, in 6 months. You owe $5,000 for your cleanup, for your rent, and for your utilities. Now, give me 30 seconds or less on your counterclaim. Let's go!
We don't believe we owe her because nothing was fixed before we even moved in.
Forget it. Next.
All of our stuff that was in the house, she told us we would have 2 days and we had
Why
nowhere to
didn't
go.
you get your stuff out?
We stayed
had
up
no-
all night trying to get our stuff out.
We had
but
2
we had a
days
house
time
full of
to do
stuff,
it.
so we got
Did
out
you
what
pay
we
rent
could.
in June?
I was giving her a couple hundred every
Did you
week.
pay rent in June?
Not in full, no.
Counterclaims dismissed. You owe $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
25-year-old Katrina Purdy is suing her former employers, taxi company owners Jack and Mike Pulowski, for taxi cab rent and lost wages.
Yeah, it's case number 299 on the calendar in the matter of Purdy versus Pulowski. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
You own a cab company?
Yes.
For how long?
For 3 years.
How many cabs do you have?
About 8.
You own them?
Yes.
And I gather what you do is you lease those cabs out on a weekly basis to people who want to drive them. They give you part of the money, and that's how you make your living, and that's how the drivers make their living.
Yes.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. How much do you charge per week to lease one of your cabs?
It's $400.
And how much of what the cab driver earns do you keep? What percentage?
I don't keep any percent, just $400 a week and...
Flat. And
Flat,
they can
exactly.
drive the cab as much as they want.
Correct.
They can go 24/7 if they want to, as long as they can keep awake.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And they pay for and you pay for the maintenance, etc., on the cab.
Yes.
Do you get the same cab each time?
Yes, they keep the car, the same car
keep
all
it?
the time.
Okay. When did Miss Purdy begin to lease her cab from you?
That was on July.
Give me the exact date, sir.
I can't remember exact day. That was...
Well, you should have records. Don't you have a business? You have records, you have a business. So when, for the first time, did Miss Purdy lease a cab from you?
It was about July 15th.
Is that the same kind of about 8 cabs? Or was it July 15th?
July 15th.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I have July 22nd, Your Honor.
You have July 22nd was the first time that you rented a cab?
Yes.
Let me see your records to show me July 15th.
I didn't bring any records about that.
Well, where'd you think you were coming today? To a tea dance?
No.
July 22nd was the first time you leased the cab?
Yes.
You gave him $400?
Yes, I did.
For how many weeks did you lease the cab?
I leased it for 3 weeks.
Okay. And was July 22nd a Monday?
That was a Friday, Your Honor.
When did you pay him the $400? Each Friday?
Every Friday, yes.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
And the Friday was for the following week, is that right?
Yes.
So you were paid $400 on a Friday, and she was supposed to keep it the following week. However, Miss Purdy says that when she paid you the last $400, which is on what date?
August 13th, Your Honor.
You told her that she couldn't keep the cab. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
So you let her keep the cab that week?
No, because I fired her that day.
Well, when you fired her, did you tell her she couldn't keep the cab?
Yes.
Well, that's what I just said. What are you saying no for?
But that $400 wasn't for the following week.
Well, that's what you just said. You said the Friday you got paid, and you allowed them to keep the cab for the following week.
That $400 was exchanged for her check, which she gave me for a security deposit.
Explain that to me, sir. She gave you a check for security
yes,
deposit.
First,
Hold
when
on
she
a
started
second.
work.
She gave you a check for security deposit. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you held on to the check?
First, I got the check. I tried to cash it and it was bad check. So I just gave her the check back and I took $400 instead. It was exactly the same amount of $400.
See, this is all a question of timing, Miss Purdy.
Yes, Your
Do you
Honor.
understand?
Yes.
What I gather happened is, now it's all coming together, Bird. Trust me, I'm going to explain this to you because I know if you understand that I've made myself clear, and I like to make myself clear. Miss Purdy gave him a total of $1,200. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
She only had the cab for 2 weeks. Is that right?
It was 3 weeks.
You used the cab for 3 weeks?
Yes.
Well, if you used the cab for 3 weeks and you gave him $1,200, what are you complaining about?
The $400 was for deposit for a hold on the check.
No. What I'm asking you, Miss Purdy, is as follows. You say you gave him $1,200.
I gave him $400 every week.
You say you gave him a total of $1,200. All the money that you gave him, for whatever reason, was $1,200.
Well, then that doesn't include the $400. You're right.
Okay, so you gave him $1,600.
Yes, Your Honor.
You gave him $1,600, but you only used the cab for 3 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Got it?
I got it.
The last Friday that she leased the cab, she hands him cash, $400. You take the $400, correct?
Yes, correct.
And then you say to her, you're fired.
No, but...
just a second.
Okay.
You're fired, and I'm keeping this $400 for the security deposit check because you scratched the car. You damaged the car, which is what the security deposit was for. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Right. That's simple. Don't shake your head no. That's what happened. Because if he had said to her, you were doing the talking, or was he doing the talking?
But I gave
Who
her
was
the check
doing the
back.
talking?
We were together.
Who was talking to her?
I was talking, he was talking.
All I want to know is, before she handed you the $400, did you say to her, we're firing you today?
No.
Of course not. So you got the cash first.
Because I didn't trust her with the check.
You following me, sir? You took her $400 because you were afraid that if you told her she was fired, she wouldn't give you the $400.
No, that's not the reason. I was afraid that the check is bad, like the first one.
Just a second. She didn't give you a check. She was giving you cash.
Yes, but she gave me check first.
I
because she didn't
understand.
have any money,
Listen.
so she gave me a check.
Listen to me, sir. If you would have said to her, I'm firing you today, you owe me money for scratching the car. I don't know how much that's going to be yet, but you owe me money. We'll have to straighten that out. Do you think she would have given you the $400?
Probably not.
Right. And she was not giving you the $400 for the security deposit. She wasn't. Her intention was giving you the $400 to use the cab for the next week, correct?
Yes.
Of course. Your intention was to take the $400 to hold it so that in case you had damage to the car, which you claim you had, you would have money to fix it. Correct?
But remember about the check. I gave her back $400 in check.
Listen
That was
to me
just
carefully, sir. Don't play slick with me. I know that what you've got fixed in your own mind is you decided to take that moment, August 13th, that's the day you selected to take the money for the bad check. Not the week before, not in the middle of the following week. You said, this is the time I'm going to take the money for the bad check, right?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, you can't do that.
Just
Anything you want to say to me?
Me?
You.
No, I'm just a witness. I'm supposed
You're
to
a witness to what?
to her accident.
She had an accident with the car. This is not the issue. The issue is who's going to be a plaintiff and who's going to be a defendant. He has every right to fire her. What he did was play it slick. What he did was she said, I want to lease the cab for the next week. Here's my $400. He didn't say to her, no, I'm sorry, we're not leasing. Put your hand down. We're not leasing you this cab for another week because we don't like the way you drive. We don't like the way you take care of our property. We're firing you. But we have your bad check here. And you have to make good on the damage that you did to our car because that's our contract. And she says, sue me. That way, he would stand over here and she would stand over here. Instead, he resorted to self-help. He says, I'm going to be slick. I'm going to take her money. I'm going to be very quiet. I'm not telling her we're firing her today. I'm going to take her money, and then she's going to have to come after me for the money. Do we understand each other?
Well, she never said she had an accident, but I saw her have an accident.
I don't care whether she had an accident. I don't care if she ended up with a pole up the tailpipe of a car. Listen to me, sir. All I'm saying is they have a choice. Their choice is to pursue her for the money that they outlaid to fix the car, or they can play it slick by taking her $400 and saying, now you're fired, now I have the money. You follow me?
I hear everything.
Are you understand it?
I understand it.
Slick doesn't understand it either. They can either be a plaintiff.
I would have fired her. I would have fired her.
They had every right to fire her. You're not hearing it.
I'm hearing it.
No, you're not hearing it. They had every right to fire her as soon as she had an accident. I'm speaking. Do you hear my mouth moving?
I see it.
Good. They had every right to fire her. They were derelict if they didn't fire her, if they have a cab company and she had an accident. What I'm saying is they had no right.
There was a lot more than an accident. There was a lot more.
Do you?
Excuse me.
Is there something wrong with you?
Is there something wrong with me?
Yes. Are you just try paying attention? They had every right and an obligation to fire her.
That's what I would have done.
They had no right to take her $400 on the day that they intended to fire her, because her intention in giving them the $400 was to allow her to use the cab for the following week. And they took that money under false pretenses. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Ted Kelly is suing his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, for crashing his car while driving intoxicated. Nicholas says the accident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your
Granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. Somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl.
1 girl.
And 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By herself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock, probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink. Unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No, they just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested?
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you moved to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking for a job
right now. You're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job. Right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I miss something, I really want somebody to give me a poke to be able to say, you missed it, you know, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the answer, Mr. Rundy.
Okay.
Which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't know.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for first-time offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that, but...
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you owe?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took you behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter, Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle, bustle.
All right.
That's all.
Brothers are excused. You may step out.
23-year-old Nick Foster is suing his ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend, 25-year-old Derek Green, for smashing his car windows with a pipe. Derek claims Nick tried to run him over.
Where's the girlfriend?
She didn't want to come. She couldn't make it because of work.
Didn't want to come sounds
did not
like a
wanna come.
better answer.
Probably.
Mr. Foster, the defendant is your ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend?
At the time, yeah.
And according to your complaint, one evening, he was drunk and disorderly and damaged your car. Mr. Green says that he might have damaged your car, but that was because you tried to run him over. So why don't you tell me this story of intrigue?
Basically, my ex-girlfriend, who I've been together with on and off for 5 years now, she called me over about 4 o'clock in the morning. Sure.
Had you been sleeping when she called?
Trying to, no.
What were you doing?
I was getting home from a night out.
Was this a Saturday night?
It was a Thursday night.
So you were just coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning?
No, I was home probably about 2 o'clock, but she called me at 4 o'clock.
And you figured this is too good to pass up? I'm going over.
Yep.
Had you been drinking?
Earlier that night, yes.
And what happened when you got to her house?
I stayed over there for about hour and a half, and decided to leave.
Who does she live with?
She lives with her mother and her father.
How did she get you into the house?
The front door.
What happened when you left?
Her father was awake, so I decided to go out the back door. That's where I saw the defendant passed out in the backyard.
What were you doing in the backyard passed out, Mr. Green?
I was passed out there because my girlfriend had left with my buddy's girlfriend to go to the store to get cigarettes. I passed out. I wake up. He's chasing my girlfriend around.
You're getting ahead of yourself, sir. I'm asking the questions. Where were you earlier in the evening of the 8th of September?
We were at the bar drinking, me and Jacqueline.
Jackie's the girlfriend?
Yes.
How did you get to her house?
Her car.
Who drove?
I did.
You drove the car drunk?
Yes.
And when you got there, she told you you couldn't come in?
No, I was outside smoking a cigarette. I was not allowed to smoke in the house.
And you just fell asleep?
Yes.
Passed out?
Mm-hmm.
You were awakened at about what time?
Around 4 o'clock in the morning.
And tell me what you sort of remember.
So I remember seeing him chasing my girlfriend around the back patio. He ran out the back door and through the back gate.
So he went out the back door?
Yeah, after he had went in the back
Just
door.
He went out. No, you didn't see him go in.
I seen him
No,
running,
no,
chasing
you
my
know, listen
girlfriend.
to me.
All right.
Mr. Green,
Mm-hmm.
let's get it together, sir.
All right, I'm getting it together.
You didn't see him go in, correct?
Yeah.
But you saw him come out.
Yes.
You don't know what time he went in.
I don't really know what went on, to tell you the
When
truth.
you were in the house with your ex-girlfriend and the father woke up, was he angry?
He was upstairs.
What caused your girlfriend to leave the house?
I decided that I needed to leave. So she said, go out the back door. We could hear him walking upstairs. Upon doing that, that's when I noticed that he was outside. I asked her, what is he doing here? Why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning if he's here? So I guess he heard us talking outside, came downside and told us all to leave.
You mean the father?
Yes.
When he said he told you all to leave, what did he say to you?
He said, everyone leave.
That was nice. I would have probably phrased it differently. So what did you do, Mr. Green?
I left.
Well, how did you come in contact with Mr. Foster's car?
After I had walked up the street, he come following me up the street. Me and him got into a fight.
How did you get into a fight? Explain
He got
that.
out of his car. He started running his mouth. Me and him got into a fight, started walking across the street. Then he got back into his car, come across the street, tried to run me over. I had to jump out of the way, and I threw a rock at his back window and busted his window out.
Why did you throw a rock at his back window?
It's an ongoing thing with him. It's, you know, he's been stalking us.
I'm asking you, what did the rock have to do with this altercation that you had?
He tried to run me over. He tried to kill me.
Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
What he said was correct to a point. Yes, we did get into hard to run my mouth because he kicked us out of my car. His friends came over and separated us.
Where were your friends? What are all these people doing at 5 o'clock in the morning?
He woke him
They're
up.
not my friends.
We woke him up arguing, and they were right across the street.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
I'm 25.
It's not even the youth of America. Yes, go ahead. So,
Well, when you're standing in the middle of the street as I'm trying to leave, yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
with your car.
Well, yeah, if I'm driving in the middle of the street, he's in the middle of the street, then yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
Yeah, go ahead.
He came after me as I pulled over. He came with a pipe of some sort, smashed the side of my car in the driver's door, then the back door, and then smashed out the back window.
Does that sound right, Mr. Green?
No.
Well, how did all the windows get broken on his car?
I don't know how all the windows got broken. I know I busted the back window out. I didn't bust any of the other windows out.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
The other windows were not busted out. It's the side, or the top of my car, on the side of my car, that was damaged with a pipe.
What kind of car do you have?
Grand Prix.
Ooh, no, that's a pipe, Mr. Green. That's not a rock, sir. That's pipe. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a roofing supervisor.
A what?
Roofing supervisor.
If I were to spend my days up on the top of a roof, I don't think I would get as sauced as you do, sir.
I take off when I want.
That's responsible.
I pick my days.
Can I see the estimates on your car, please? Either one of you treated at any hospital or by any doctor on the night of the 8th or the 9th of September?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Treated by a doctor or a hospital?
No, I was not.
Okay, so we're not talking about any injuries to you. We're talking about two people who had been drinking a lot, right? Let me ask you a question. Did you have a fight with your ex-girlfriend that evening?
No.
Did you ask her whether or not she'd called him to come over?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say?
She said no.
But you see, that's a lie, because she let him in the house.
You know, when somebody stalks you so much, then you can only do so much.
Listen to me. If somebody's stalking, uncross your hands. If somebody's stalking you, you don't resolve his stalking by calling him at 4 o'clock in the morning to come over to the house. And you don't let him in the house, sir.
Yeah, well, he's coming to my house 2:30 in the morning.
I don't care about your house. I'm talking about the girlfriend's house, sir.
I'm not worried about that no more.
Listen, when you drink, you have to pay the piper. I don't think your girlfriend was honest with you, sir, with regard to what happened that evening. Maybe she was a little drunk, too, which is why she called Mr. Foster over. Certainly her father got fed up with all of you, told you all to leave. If he was afraid for his daughter's life, he would have taken her into the house and said, you guys get out of here because you're placing my entire family at risk. So I think that's something you really have to look into. And maybe if you had a clear head, Mr. Green, and weren't so infused with alcohol, you could look at the situation a little more clearly. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,941. Thank you.
Laura Francis says her niece, Tammy Wickham, owes for a loan for school tuition and 2 months' rent. Tammy claims she never agreed to pay the money back.
Miss Francis, the defendant is your niece?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for a loan, for some school tuition, and also for rent that you were forced to pay on her behalf because you had signed a lease for her and her children to live in an apartment, and she did not pay the rent, so you were forced to. Ms. Wickham says that's absolutely ridiculous. You did, in fact, pay the tuition for her, but the reason you paid the tuition for her is that she was working for you at the time and you couldn't afford to pay her, so that you paid her tuition instead. And with regard to any other money, she said you have some nerve suing her because she actually made a loan to you for $25,000.
Correct.
When did you give her $25,000?
In February of 2007.
Where did you get $25,000 from?
I sold my home and had a large chunk from selling my home.
How much?
How much did I get from the house?
Yes.
$84,000.
And what did you give Miss Francis $25,000 for?
She had helped me out in a legal situation, and as a thank you, I lent her money. She was in a bind financially.
Your Honor,
Can I say something?
Now I'm going to ask you about it. Okay. Tell me about this $25,000. I'm curious.
I have no idea about the $25,000. She's never in her life lent me 5 cents.
Do you have any proof that you gave her $25,000?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
I would too.
Well, it's actually $27,000.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Just a second.
Okay. She gave me that money to hold for her because she couldn't trust herself to handle her money. She actually got, I think, $102,000 from selling her home. She spent all of that money on attorney fees. All of it, trying to get custody of the 5 children that she doesn't have custody of. And as you can see, she's having yet a 6th child.
So what you're telling me is this wasn't money she gave to you.
This was not money she gave me.
This is money she gave to you to hold for her.
To hold for her.
Did you ever give it back?
Absolutely. Every dime of it, and then some.
That's absolutely not true. If I needed her to hold my money, I would have given her the $84,000 she needed.
Maybe you spent it.
No, I actually do have some of it left.
Oh, right.
Miss Wickham, you have 5 kids?
I do.
Where are they?
2 of them reside with their father. We have joint custody, and my younger 3 are with their father.
So there are 2 separate fathers?
Correct.
And who is the father of this baby?
The father of my younger 3, my husband.
But you're not living together?
No.
How long haven't you lived together?
Approximately 5 months.
They've never lived together.
Do you ever have a drug problem, Miss Wickham?
Never.
Where do you spend all your money?
I've been going to school for the last 4 years, and I have 5 kids.
Well, right now you don't have custody of any of your children.
It's only been 5 months prior to that.
That's a long time not to have custody of your children.
Yes. I do have custody of my older 2.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
They live with their father?
They're with me 42%. With him during the week, me weekends, and half of vacation and Wednesdays.
All right, Miss Francis. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on here that I don't know about and probably don't care to know about with regard to this, the facts of this case. Just trying to get a sense of where this $27,000 went.
I have no idea because I gave it all back to her.
Go ahead.
When she was living in my house when she got her kids back, it was almost 2 years. We fought to get her children back.
All right, so the children were taken by the state?
Yes, and then she got them back in, I think, July of 2008. And my sister, which is her mother, and I did everything we could to help her, to support her. Her mother finally in September threw her out. She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Tell me about this tuition loan.
She was collecting grants from school on a regular basis, and I have the school printout. She had to pay back $3,783 to the school because the foster parent called the school and told them that she had lied.
No, you can't tell me what the foster parent said. She had to pay back $3,780.
Right, and she didn't have it. So she came and asked me if she could borrow it. She asked me, had been asking for about a week, and finally I just got so fed up, I just said, okay, I'll put it on the credit card, but you're gonna make the payment. She agreed. She says, if I pay them back $3,720, whatever it is, $83 now, in December, on December 31st, I will get $7,200.
You mean from financial aid?
Right, for going to school. So I agreed to do it so she could continue going to school. She wants to be a lawyer, and she's already in a good position to do that because she's a fabulous lawyer. Therefore, I lent her the money, okay? The next day, she told me, that night actually, she told me to go to in my own home. I'm letting her and her 3 children live with me. And she tells me she's very disrespectful. So I said, call the school. I'm not doing this, Tammy. I'm going to tell them I'm not paying the money. You are on your own. You figure it out. I called the school, and the lady at the financial...
Don't tell me what anybody said. Did you give her $3,780?
I paid the school tuition back, yes.
Okay. What else did you pay for her?
In October, because I couldn't live with her anymore, so I said, you got to go. She left my home. She called me the next day, and I said, where did you stay? She said, we slept in the park. Her and her 3 children in the park all night in the cold. It was in December, and it broke my heart. So she went to welfare, and they gave her vouchers to stay in motels, I guess, for a couple of weeks. But she came calling me, pleading again, Laura, please, can you help me? I can't rent an apartment in my name because I have bad credit, but can you please rent an apartment for me? And because Child Protective Services was coming to check on the residents to see that she had sufficient housing for the children. Not for her, Your Honor, but for the children. I did it. I went up to Victorville and I rented an apartment for her and the kids.
Go ahead.
And it was okay. Thank you.
Where did you expect her to get money to pay for
well,
this apartment?
this is what she said. I'm going to get $787 a month from welfare. I'm going to get $1,900 child support from the father of the 2 older kids. And I get $400 and some odd dollars of food stamps every month. I'm going to sell that to my friend Teresa, you know, the food stamps, not feed the kids, sell the food stamps for cash, and I can pay the rent. So I said, okay, one more time. So I did that, and that was October 14th, the day that the social worker was coming to check to see if she had sufficient housing for the children. And she came, and there was no furniture there, but she saw that it was a nice apartment. So that was good. And then December 5th, she was arrested again for leaving the children by themselves at 10 o'clock at night while she went to work at a bar from 10 to 2 in the morning.
How old are the children?
11 was the oldest, 9. The youngest was 6 months old, an infant. 3 under 3.5 years old.
What does the father do, the father of the 3 youngest children?
Well, he was working at somewhere, but she got him fired. He's not working now. He's taking care of the kids on unemployment, I believe.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
You see the children?
Yes.
You see them at your house?
No, we go wherever we have to go to see them. And he's very amenable. We and the kids get along great. They love us.
What about their grandmother? Do they see their grandmother?
Yes, they do.
You go together or
Yes.
separately?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so she paid rent for a while, and how much rent did she not pay?
In December, she gave them a bad check, so they called me because, of course, I'm the contact, and said that now the rent was $990.
How much rent did you pay in her behalf?
$1,087 and some change.
How many months?
That was in December. Then she got out of jail and gave the lawyer all the money she was supposed to give me back for the school, the $3,700, and I was upset. But anyway, I had to pay it because it was in my name. So then again in March, she came to my house and says, I don't have the rent. You pretty much have to pay it because it's in your name. So you really don't have much of a choice, Laura, okay? I hated that, but I did it. I mean, it was the truth. It was in my name, so I paid it. She told me on March 20th she would get another $5,000 from school that she would give me. And she got another $5,000 from school, and I didn't get a dime of it. And then she got $2,900 for filing her income tax, and I didn't get a dime of that either. And
okay, got it. Okay, Ms. Wickham, I'll hear you.
I lived with my aunt while I was pregnant with my youngest for 9 months, and the agreement was I wanted to finish my last semester at school. She was going to pay my financial aid instead of paying me to work for her.
What kind of work did you do?
Real estate assistant. She's a realtor.
When you were living with her, how much rent did you pay her?
I paid $300 here and there, but she would never take my money.
How much rent did you pay her every month?
We had no agreement.
The answer is nothing. How much did you pay her towards utilities?
I would give her $300. I was working here and there.
How much did you? I thought you were working for her in real estate.
I was, but I also worked as a waitress Friday and Saturday nights.
And how much did you pay her to maintain the food in the house?
I bought my own food and also bought food for her.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not. Nonsense. Did you finish school?
I did, just recently.
Did you graduate?
I'm going to graduate this semester. I'll be walking.
Now, I don't know what your problems are. Clearly you have some. If you have an aunt who loves you and has been supportive, and you have a mother who loves you and has tried to be supportive, and these 2 women in your life have had it with you up to here, you have to acknowledge at some point that you're doing something wrong. And one of the things that you're doing wrong is somebody who can't take care of their children doesn't have another one.
That's the issue. That's why they're upset. Yes.
Hey,
My aunt told me in an email here if I had another child, and she emailed this to my husband, who she dislikes, that if we had another child, she would do everything in her power to make sure none of us ever saw any of our 5 kids again.
I want to tell you something. She's absolutely right. I don't understand what, except that the laws in this country, unfortunately, don't always protect children. Because if I were in charge of your children, and if I didn't have the law as a constraint, I don't think that you or your husband, who you don't live with, is an appropriate caretaker for your children. Because your children have been all over the globe. Your children were taken away and were in foster care. They were in your custody. You left them alone. An 11-year-old with a 6-month-old. And where was the father all this time? Where was his head? Somewhere where it's very, very dark, because he knows, listen, she can't take care of 5 children, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a 6th. Ridiculous. You got to find some other hobby. You got to find some other hobby. And evidently school wasn't enough. Should have had school and work and been so busy that you didn't have time to make number 6. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, but I'm telling you, I would watch very carefully, because there's something not right in the wheels up there. And I don't know about the fathers of these children, because I haven't met them, but certainly these children have not gotten the childhood that they were entitled to, which was a certain sense of continuity and living in the same place and not living in a park and not living alone and not living without furniture and living with a father and living with a mother and living with an aunt. Come on, grow up. First way to grow up is to acknowledge what you owe, and you owe your aunt $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Kenny Loud says neighbors Keith and Tammy Cavanis owe for the return of 2 dirt bikes. The defendants are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Loud, you and the defendant were neighbors. You purchased 2 dirt bikes at some point, and then according to your complaint, you and your husband separated. You couldn't maintain the payments on the bikes, so you sold them to your neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And they acknowledged that you did in fact sell them to them, and the price for the 2 bikes was, I believe, $1,800. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You made only $300 worth of payments, is that right? 3
yes,
payments of $100 each.
Yes, ma'am.
And your last payment was in February?
Yes, ma'am.
She wants her money. Do you have a defense?
We attempted to make the payment, and she refused it.
Show me.
Here's the return. That's the receipt for the money, or the certified letter, and that's where they refused it and sent it back. We called her.
March 23rd. When was your payment due?
On the 15th.
Of
we
what?
called her on March 15th. So she sent us a text on March 14th, and we had gone out of town and we had forgotten about it. So we called her and told her we were out of town and asked if it would be okay if we paid it on the 20th when we returned. And if not, my nephew had access to our funds, and he could bring it down to her right then, because it's only a few houses down. And she said, no, it's okay, wait when you return on the 20th. And then she went on, started talking about other issues.
Your Honor.
So,
Go ahead.
Okay, and when they were out of town, they did not call me. I called them on Sunday. And
Sunday, what day?
Sunday was March 15th, I believe. And they told me at that point that they were out of town and that their nephew could pay me the money. I had talked to their nephew during the week. He did not mention anything about the money, and neither did I, because in February...
Why didn't you pick this up? Did you get this certified
I wasn't
mail?
at home. I had somebody staying with me due to the threats that he had said to me.
Just a second.
When I went to collect the money March 20th.
Hold on. I don't understand this. This is addressed to you. This is addressed to you. This envelope and this name is addressed to you.
I'm sorry, if the receipt...
Don't show me the receipt. That you filled out.
I brought the wrong envelope.
That you filled out, madam. This is addressed to you.
I know. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I brought the wrong envelope.
Well, that's not my problem.
I know it. I messed up. But
it's very messed up. It's very messed
the
up.
thing is, she came to our house and she refused on the 20th when we returned, and she refused.
Oh, you have no defense for not paying up for the bikes. What's your defense?
The defense that she came to our house on the 20th. When we returned, we told her we were going to pay on the 20th. She was not home. She showed up at our home intoxicated, demanded the dirt bikes back. And we said, no, Kenny, you said that it would be okay when we returned on the 20th that we would pay you. He was there. He was a witness. And saw that she refused.
I want to know today, as you stand here, what your defense is. Right now, you have the 2 dirt bikes.
We had the cash to give to her.
Right now, you have the 2 dirt bikes.
The deal was that I lost a job, so we did not have to pay on the 15th. The deal was that we
The
could
contract
pay.
does say the 15th, but she said she'd work with us.
She will work with us.
I want to know, you're standing here today, what is your defense for not paying her for the merchandise that you have?
That she would not take the payment when we tried to
Well,
take
what
it
do
to
you
her.
think she's doing here? To check out my makeup?
She wanted the bikes. She wanted the bikes back.
She wanted the
Her
bikes back.
ex-husband returned, and he wanted the bikes back. She told us in
didn't-
February he
don't-
wanted the bikes
Hey,
back.
I mean, thick. Are you people just thick?
We offered her the payment on the 15th.
What defense do you have today for keeping the bikes and not paying for them? The fact that you're annoyed?
We attempted. We had the money. We want to pay him. We want to pay her. We wanted to pay it.
Oh, so
And
you
she
want to
refused
finish?
it. Yes, we
That's
wanted
what-
to make every payment on time. We wanted to make the payments early.
Fine. Well, you didn't make your payment on time. All right. So right now they owe you $1,500 on the dirt bikes.
On the
now,
dirt
just
bikes?
what?
On the dirt bikes, I want the return of the dirt bikes. I don't want the money. I want the dirt
No,
bikes because
that's, that's not the deal. You're getting your $1,500 back. I don't care what you want. You made the deal. Now, you have some other repossession fees. I want you to show me where you paid a bill for repossessing the dirt bikes.
I have not paid anything yet.
Good. Then you don't get
I have
that.
an invoice.
Then you don't get it.
Even with the invoice saying, because I still
No.
have to pay it.
No, I don't want it. But I'm curious, when did you hire somebody to repossess the bikes?
I think it was around April 9th.
You have that on the invoice?
I don't know. I think the invoice is just dated the day that they sent it to me. June 1st is the date of it.
No, not interested. Take it, throw it in the garbage. They didn't get the property.
But I still have to pay the money.
That's your problem, if you're going to pay the money, and I don't think you are. So far, they owe you $1,500. Now, you want to get to the last part of your lawsuit, which is defamation of character.
Yes, ma'am. I was the assistant leader in a Girl Scout troop. She was the leader, and both of our daughters were in it. And on Friday, March 20th, is when I went over there to get the dirt bikes. And then Saturday is when she sent an email to all of the parents, to the girls in the Girl Scout troop, saying that I was no longer going to be the assistant leader.
Let me see.
I had not resigned.
Just want to see what she says in it.
I have mine also if you want to compare the two.
This is not defamation. She says, as some of you know, I am needing an assistant to help me with the troop. Kenny no longer will be the assistant, so I need help ASAP. She doesn't say anything else about you.
I was forced out of the group by her when I had sent.
I don't care.
I had talked to the.
That's not defamation.
When
show me something that indicates that she defamed you in some way, madam.
Okay, because of that email, I found out about that email, and I had called corporate Girl Scouts, and then they came in, and at that point she had said, well,
Don't tell me what you said.
She said it to.
Yeah, they owe you $1,500. Now I'm going to entertain in 30 seconds or less your counterclaim.
She kept calling counsel over and over again. They were just
Don't tell me
irritated.
what they were just.
And she told them that I.
You can't tell me what she told them. That's hearsay.
I have the letter from the council.
I don't
she
care
told
if
them
you
that
have
I
a
stole
letter.
money.
Just a second. I don't care if you have a letter from counsel. I don't read letters from counsel. Letters from counsel are hearsay. You have anything that she wrote?
Oh, I have the letter that she sent
to
all the girls. Well, she sent it to counsel to send it to the girls, and saying that I told them stuff, which I didn't. And then the letter from counsel says that she had me investigated
Just
for
a
stealing
second.
money.
I don't care. That's hearsay. Do you understand?
That she had me investigated for stealing money.
That's
And
hearsay. This is not defamation. She's saying that I understand that Tammy Cavan has communicated with you by email or in person about a week and a half ago that I had quit the troop. That's not what she said at all in her email to the troop that you gave me. She just said I will be needing a new assistant and Kerry will no longer be. She didn't say you quit. Show me where it says you quit.
I have the resignation letter.
I don't have it.
I didn't ask you anything.
Okay. Do you still have that email?
You have that?
You still have it. Kenny will no longer be the
That's
assistant
what it
leader.
says. She will no longer be. She doesn't say you quit. And it's all a matter of semantics anyway. It's nonsense, ladies. You owe her $1,500 for the dirt bikes that you have. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Salminio Moten is suing his ex-fiancée, Andrea Umersky, for the return of a laptop. Andrea claims Salminio gave her the computer before he was deployed to Iraq.
Mr. Moten, it is your claim that the defendant, who is your former girlfriend, has a computer that belongs to you. You want it back.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you gave her the computer a long time ago. It was a gift. It was a second computer that you had. You had bought yourself a new one. She has a counterclaim for a whole bunch of nonsense. How old is this computer, Mr. Moten?
3 years old, Your Honor.
When did you buy yourself a new computer, Mr. Moten?
2008, Your Honor.
Why did you buy yourself a new computer?
Because I was getting deployed to Iraq, and the old computer, it was old and it was slower than my new computer. So I felt I needed more storage.
And you were taking the new computer to Iraq?
Yes, for business matters.
So you bought yourself a new one. And at that time, you were involved with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was your girlfriend?
She was my girlfriend at that point, Your Honor.
Tell me about when he gave you the computer.
When he came back home on leave, we were scheduled to be married, and he gave me the computer when he left back.
What did he say?
He didn't really say much. I mean, he just left it for me because he had a new computer. He didn't need it anymore.
What did he say to you?
There was no specific that, I mean, I recall that he said he just gave me the computer. We jointly lived together. I mean, I have a text message stating that I can have the computer after we broke up.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
If the screen goes blank, you can just press the OK button.
Bird is the button presser.
That would be his number listed below, his cell phone number.
It's cool to keep the laptop, just give me my mail and my clothes. Did you send that to her?
I think so, Your Honor. Yes, I did.
So?
Well, at that point in time, I felt like at that point in time, I had no way of getting my laptop. I had to get...
Just a second. You went to Iraq, you came back, you broke up. The reasons for it are irrelevant to me. And when you came back, you asked her for the computer.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she said to you, you gave it to me.
No, she said, for me to give you my computer, you have to give me $400 for her ring.
And you said what?
I said, I don't owe you for the ring because I...
Fine. You said, I don't owe you for the ring. That's part of a counterclaim. I don't have to hear that just yet. But at some point, she had your mail and your clothes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you said to her, it's okay, keep the laptop, which she's now had in her possession for over a year, correct?
Yes.
Keep the laptop, just give me my mail and my clothes. That's what you wrote. Did you get your mail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you get your clothes?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, then she keeps the computer.
Well,
you
no,
made a bargain with her. You said, give me my mail, give me my clothes, you keep the laptop. You got your mail, you got your clothes, she keeps the laptop.
She was asking to keep the laptop because she needed internet access for her and her kids. I was being generous by letting her keep it, but...
Well, you were being generous by letting her keep it. That's what you said. Mr. Moten, were you out of the country serving your country at war?
Yes, Your Honor.
You saw lots of them?
Yes, I did.
You don't have to go back anymore, do you?
No, not at this point, Your Honor.
Great. And you're home safe and sound, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about a computer that was so old and slow that you got rid of it, that you bought yourself a new one.
Yes.
Right?
I did, Your Honor.
Just a second. Old, slow, bought yourself a new one. You know how many old computers I have in my house? My husband says they're too slow. I said, where are you going? He said it has to be faster. But you got yourself a faster one, right?
Yes, I did.
Right? And you came home safe and sound. What are you bothering with minutiae for? What are you bothering with nonsense for, Mr. Moten? Especially when you said to give me my mail and my clothes and keep the laptop.
Well, I had important files on my laptop that I really wanted.
And you did without them for almost 2 years now, right?
Yes.
You'll do it without them for another 20.
I asked her to put it on a hard drive.
And did she?
No, she wanted to keep the whole laptop.
Just a second. Did he ask you to store some stuff for him?
No.
No, of course not. He's making it up as he's going along. Forget it, Mr. Moten. You got home safe and sound. You gave her the computer probably before you left because you got yourself a new one. That's what boyfriends do for their girlfriends. They say, here, let the kids use this one. Let the kids play games on this one because I got one that's faster, that's got more memory, that's got this. And then when you broke up, now you want your computer back.
Well,
and she's not going to give it to you. She's not going to give it to you because you gave it to her. Not once, probably, but twice. Now let's get to your nonsense counterclaim.
Okay. Your Honor, when he asked me to marry him, he agreed that I would go purchase the rings on my credit card, and when he came back 2 months later, he would pay the full bill. We later did break up, and we agreed that because he had one ring and I had the other ring, that he would pay half, and I also have an email saying that I will pay half. I don't have a problem with that, and here's the bill. But it's from a month ago, so there's still late payment charges on there. I haven't paid it. I have 3 children. I have more important bills to pay than a credit card bill.
Did you tell her to go buy 2 rings?
No, Your Honor. She bought the rings on her own.
It says, I will pay my half. I don't have a problem with that. Hope everything goes well with your new relationship. I wish you all the best. Did you send this to her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You have one ring, correct?
Yes, I do.
Well, who's supposed to pay for that ring?
Well, she actually gave it to me as a gift, and she was asking me to pay for it.
Let me see it.
So the ring?
Yeah.
I didn't bring it, Your Honor. I forgot it.
Mr. Moulton, you're really annoying me. I mean, you did get a copy of her counterclaim, did you not, about the ring?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, how could you not bring it if I wanted to look at it? How much was the ring that he has in his possession?
Here's the original bill.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. And then there's the interest and stuff incurred because he didn't pay the original bill, which we agreed that we would each split half of the bill last month.
All right. How much was his ring?
It was the less expensive one on there.
So his ring was $200?
I believe so.
You get to keep the computer, madam. And he owes you $200 for his ring. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Krista Llewellyn is suing her stepfather, Ernest Flowers, for money loaned and the cost of a computer. Ernest says that Krista breached their contract.
Miss Llewellyn, this is your stepfather.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that you made a couple of loans to your stepfather.
Correct.
One of them was to purchase a computer that he was supposed to pay off within a year.
Correct.
According to you. And the second loan was for what?
For a $600 post-dated check that he had, and he got into an accident, and they fell kind of behind on their bills. So he asked me to borrow the money, and I said sure, as long as he paid me back, because he had borrowed money before.
And that was $600?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much is owed on the computer?
$671.
Mr. Flowers, why in the world would you borrow money from your child?
First off, for the laptop, she had and her husband had an account with Dell, and it was purchased on that account because I could not get credit through Dell. I explained to her that I would make the payments faithfully, which I have.
Show me.
There's 3 months worth of payments. It shows that each month the payment was taken out.
When was it purchased?
It was purchased in February of 2006.
You're just showing me 3 months worth of payments.
Yes, ma'am. That's all the further back that I can go with my bank.
No, but you can get a statement from them as to how much you owe. How much was the computer?
I believe $2,000.
No.
How much was it?
A little over $1,000, like $1,029, $1,039.
Is that there?
Well, I have a printout from Dell, yeah.
Can I see it, please?
Everything.
So the computer was purchased in 2006.
Yes, ma'am.
March of 2006?
Yes.
Well, you know, you're never going to pay this thing off. What's the interest on it?
$25 every month, and I told them that.
You pay $50 a month towards the computer. Only $25 of that goes to the computer. You know what's going to happen? Mr. Flowers, the computer's going to break, and you're going to say, I'm not paying for a computer that I don't have anymore. By the way you're going, you won't be paying for this computer until 2010.
Those were the payments that were set up with her when it was purchased.
Is that right?
Those were the payments set up with me, but they told me within a year they would have it paid off. And I also have a statement from my husband because he talked to him also and said that it would be paid off in a year because we purchased a computer and paid it off within a year.
Did you tell her you'd have it paid off within a year?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, I accept this because it's a notarized statement for someone in the military and your husband is in Iraq.
Right.
He says that it was supposed to be paid off within a year.
I was in a car accident on June the 13th and planned on, when I got my settlement, of clearing that bill.
And?
And I have not received a settlement yet, so...
Well, when do you intend to get that, sir?
I have no idea. It is in the lawyer's hands right now.
Fine. As soon as you get it, you have to pay off the $671.
Yes, ma'am.
But he has been paying, according to this, he has been paying it every month. So next time, don't let anybody use your credit.
Right.
I can't do anything about the computer. Now tell me about this other check, sir, for $600.
When Krista and her husband first came back from Germany and Krista moved in with my wife and I, a couple days after they moved in, I'm not sure exactly when the date was. I know the date they moved in was June the 15th.
And she pays you rent.
She was paying $200 every 2 weeks.
So she was paying you $400 a month rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Which covered what?
As far as the rent on the house that I rent, it's $725, so...
So she was paying more than half of the rent that you were paying?
Yes, and she was not asked any money for the electricity, power, or gas.
So who cares? So who cares?
And she wasn't asked any money to help with the food.
That's not true. I was asked for money for the utilities, and I have proof, and I also have a witness that she couldn't pay her utilities the first month that I moved in. So when I moved in on June 15th, I gave her $400.
Did she give you money for utilities when she first moved in?
Gave him $400.
She gave me nothing, ma'am.
You gave it to who?
I gave it to him and my mother.
What about food?
I bought my own food. I have an 11-monthly baby food, and I have an 11-year-old, and I purchased my own food.
So she's paying you sufficient rent to live with you? Nice that she was paying you rent at all. My children, when they come home, never pay rent. Most don't. So I still don't understand the $600 loan.
Before he left, he and I were out in the garage, and he handed me $600 and said that he wanted me to take care of the payday loan that I had.
Your Honor.
Shh. Go ahead.
I explained to him at the time that I did not have the money to pay him back for that, and he said that was not a problem, that they had gotten extra money out of their taxes, and he wanted to help us out because we were helping out by having Krista live there while he was over in Iraq.
Sounded like she was helping you out. Sounds to me, Mr. Flowers, as if you were in certain financial distress, because if you took out a payday loan, it means you didn't have money to cover your own bills. Otherwise, people don't take out a payday loan. And she was paying more than half of the rent on your house. So I don't know who was helping whom. Certainly, I didn't see you doing anything for her. Her mother helped out with the baby, not you. I don't see what she got out of living with you.
As far as I'm concerned, I was at work. I worked 9, 10 hours a day.
You don't make enough money, sir, and your expenses exceeded what you earn. She was helping you out.
And at the time out in the garage, when her husband gave me the money,
it's not what he says
that
here.
was a gift.
It's not what he says. It's not what he says in his notarized statement, sir.
Your Honor.
I can't help that.
It's not what he says in his notarized statement. In any event, you should have been able to take care of yourself. You're a grown man. You don't take money from your children. You owe her the $600. What else?
$180.42 for a gun that he had in pawn.
Well, tell me, that's curious. I want you to tell me when you got it out of the pawn shop for him.
I got it out on September 6th of '07. I went in with my sister because she was paying a pawn, and I saw his gun in the case actually for sale. So my mother's not such a nice woman. She, just pawns his stuff for money and doesn't tell him sometimes. And I like Ernest. I think he's a really nice guy. And, I mean, without her, he's a really nice guy. So I called him and I said, Ernest, did you know that you are going to lose your gun, that it's for sale? And he said, I didn't know that. And I said, the guy said that you could get it for $180.
Did she call you from the pawn shop?
She called me from the pawn shop, but she stated that the reason why she was calling was because the gentleman at the pawn shop had gotten strict instructions from me when I dropped it off there that he was not to release it to anybody but me.
He admits to owing me for the gun, though.
No. Because
yes, he does.
I didn't ask you to go pick the gun
I have
up.
a statement that he sent to small claims court saying that he owed me for the gun and for the dog.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Good.
He admits to owing me for the gun.
Shh. It says, do you agree that you owe the plaintiff money? Yes. If yes, how much do you agree that you owe? $344. I want you to look at this, sir. Did you remember you filled this out?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
But it says that you owe her then for the vet bill and the $180 for the gun.
Because she had asked me afterwards to be paid back, and because of the fact that she was nice enough to do that, I was going to pay her back to be nice.
Good. Now,
but then,
perfect.
Then she
so you
files
pay
this
it back to be nice. Good. So far you owe $780. Anything else?
Yes, I would like the return of my rent because I paid them rent on the 1st of October, and on the 3rd, they threw me out. They had my stuff packed. They gave me 5 minutes to get my stuff. They kept some of my stuff. They broke some of my stuff.
Why did they throw you out?
Because my mother's got split personalities, and she's just crazy. She's not
Why
the
did you
same
throw her
person
out?
from day to day.
The specific reasons I don't know. All I know is I got a phone call from my wife stating that Krista's attitude was to the point to where she wasn't willing to deal with it anymore.
Fine. So
and
you owe her rent.
No, ma'am, because of the fact that the extra utilities that were used.
Forget the extra utilities. It's ridiculous, Mr. Flowers. She paid you the rent the 1st of the month, and you threw her out the 3rd of the month. You owe her rent.
We did not throw her out. She was given the opportunity to either stay or drop her attitude. No. She chose to leave.
You can't have a tenant, and you have to make up your mind whether you treat somebody as a tenant or your child. If you treat her as rent from her, if you treat her as a tenant, and you tell her, well, I don't like your attitude, either you have to drop your attitude or you have to move out. That's throwing her out. Can't have it both ways. She has her $200 rent back. That's $980. Anything else?
No.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $980. Thank you. That's all.
Audrey Decker says her ex-roommates Trista Gray and Mark Robertson owe for bills and a rental deposit. Audrey also claims the couple falsely accused her of smoking pot.
Ms. Decker, you and the defendants were roommates in an apartment or a house?
Correct. It was a 2-bedroom apartment above the downtown plaza.
And you met each other at work?
Yes, we did. We
that's all.
We're co-workers.
Sure. Signed the lease when?
On August 21st of last year. I have that with me if you'd like to see it.
Okay, and when did you move out?
It was January.
January what?
9th.
And you claim they moved out owing you money?
Yes, they did.
There's lots of other things that you're claiming, some of which is nonsense, but you claim that they owe you some money. One of the things they owe you money for is that they had not paid their entire security deposit.
They had not paid the deposit.
Just answer my question.
Yes, they had not.
They had not
the
paid the entire security deposit. You paid it. They were supposed to pay you back, and there was some money outstanding. When they moved out on January 9th, 2008, in what condition was the apartment?
There were some burn marks in the carpet in the bedroom that they were in. There's nail holes, things that weren't there before.
Okay. Do you have photographs of the burns on the carpet?
No, I do not.
Were there burns on the carpet?
There might have been. We did smoke in the bedroom, yes.
Okay. Because if there was no damage to the apartment, then of course I would say to the plaintiff, you're going to get the security deposit back, so they don't have to pay you any more security deposit. But if there was damage that you did to the apartment, then you have to pay your half of the security deposit, because in all probability, the landlord is going to make her replace the carpet and charge her. Is that reasonable?
It is, but we don't believe we owe her anything because we have overpaid her on deposit.
Show me.
We don't have any proof of it, but we overpaid her over the deposit. We do believe we have.
Well, show me. What do you mean we believe?
We don't have
What
any-
did you poke him for? You want him to say something?
We don't have any proof because we did pay her. We believe we did.
How much did they pay you in the security?
They paid me $360. The arrangement was I
How
paid
much was the security deposit? Let's do
The
this.
$300 was what I put down that day for the deposit.
In total?
In total.
So they owed you $150?
No, the way it was we had our bills split 3 ways. Deb Schultz is a witness to that we agreed to split all bills, including electric, cable, deposit, rent, everything.
3, that they owed you $600? I want to know how much they owed initially for the security deposit, Ms. Decker.
They owed $200 initially, but they did not have money at the time.
I understand
so
that.
I paid it all.
I understand that.
Okay.
How much did they give you towards the $200 in security deposit that they owed?
They gave me $360. They paid my part of the rent for September, October, November, and December, which was $90. And they also were paying me back for the $200 that I put down in the beginning to help buy food and everything because they, once again, didn't have any. So the total was $500. They paid $360 out of that by paying the rent.
So according to you, they owe $140 in security deposit?
Right. That's what they have left over from that particular amount, right.
What else do you think they owe you for?
They owe me for the cable and electric for the time which they were there from November to December because we had backed bills.
Just 1 second. They left January 9th. Did they pay January's rent?
They paid January's rent, correct.
Good. Okay, because they should have paid January's rent because they were there until the 9th, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Why did you move out?
We couldn't handle her anymore. She became overpowering.
Okay, so there was a problem. Okay. You have bills showing that there were balances as of December 31st on any of the utilities?
I do.
Show me.
That's electric. This is cable. I have the amounts highlighted that I paid, and this is the receipt for the electric that I paid my share of. All that's left is what they have to pay.
When was the last time you paid utilities?
I paid utilities last
No,
month.
I'm talking to you.
Oh.
We didn't pay them.
No. You're showing me a bill from January 12th, 08 to February 11th, 08. They weren't living
Right.
there then.
That's what was due before.
Oh, balance brought forward $62.
Uh-huh.
62. So they owe $40.
No, the whole balance, the 164, is what was owed from the months before.
No,
It
that's
was-
not true.
The $150 is what we
That's
ultimately
not
paid.
true. Not according to this. According to this, payments received was $150.
$150 was what was paid. $62.19 was what was left over as a back balance.
$62.19 was what was left over from that bill. The other money is for the current service, which was from January 12th, 08 until February 11th, 08. I can read a bill.
Okay. Well.
So they owe $40 on this. Okay. The City of Fairmount Public Utilities was $364.
Correct.
And they're supposed to pay 2/3 of that.
Right.
Okay, so they owe you $280 in utilities and $140 for their security deposit. And what else do you think that they owe you for?
For slander.
Go ahead.
They told my boyfriend's mom here, Deb Schultz, that I was smoking marijuana, and that led to a lot of tension between him and I. We actually almost broke up over it because he disagrees with it along with drinking.
Did you tell this lady that she was smoking marijuana?
No, we did not. We do not have her number in any way. We don't have any problem with Deb Schultz in any way. She has been very helpful with the apartment in the beginning. Like I said, we do not have her phone number.
Your last name is?
Schultz.
You are the mother of the
her
boyfriend.
Yes.
Go ahead. Well, who called you?
I ran into them.
Oh, so nobody called?
No. I ran into them. They
When?
told me in December sometime.
Okay.
And they told me that Audrey was using drugs. So my
Did
son,
you ask what kind?
Yes, and she told me it was marijuana. And my son is really against girlfriends using any kind of drugs or
Okay,
alcohol.
so now she says it wasn't by phone, it was when you ran into each other. Did that happen?
I do not recall that.
Well, she does. Why would she lie about that?
I don't know, but I do not recall that.
Did she use marijuana while you were living together?
Yes, she did.
When?
Well, we were at a friend's house, and I was in the bedroom with my friend, with her daughter, watching a movie, and she was in there with my friend's boyfriend and Mark, and they were having a conversation about using marijuana, and Mark overheard it.
Overheard what?
Overheard the conversation about them using drugs. And Audrey had asked Mark not to tell me. On the way home, he told me.
What did you overhear, sir?
They were talking about hiding it, not letting me see it, but then giving it to my friend's boyfriend. And
But in all the time that you lived together with the plaintiff, she never smoked marijuana in your presence. That.
No.
What are you poking him for?
I didn't.
not to my knowledge, but
Well, you would not to your knowledge. You have eyes.
she would hide it. She would go out with friends, and
Don't tell me what she would hide it, sir. I'm asking you a very simple question. You never saw her smoke marijuana while she was in your presence.
no, ma'am.
Did you?
No.
First of all, they don't always get things right when they hear things. Is this your boyfriend?
Yes.
Step away from her for a second. That's fine. Have you ever said something to him and then a week later you say, don't you remember I told you that? And he says, you never said that to me. You told me this. So you never said that to you? That never happened?
Sometimes it happens.
Oh,
but
listen.
more than likely he pays attention because...
But I'm just asking you. Never said to you, you didn't say that. That's not what I heard. I don't remember you telling me we had this date. I don't remember you telling me your mother was coming over. I don't remember you telling me we're going out with your sister. None of that. No.
No.
It'll happen. They don't always get it right. And to have relied on that statement to make that statement to her boyfriend's mother was probably not good judgment.
Well, he wouldn't lie to me about marijuana because he knows my stance on it. He knows I disagree with it.
Well, and if you said to me that I saw her smoking marijuana I smelled it in the house, that's another story. But for all you know, she could be puffing and she could be showing off for a friend. You don't know that that's true. You lived together for 5 months and you never saw any evidence of it in your home. Saw, smelled, felt, right? So you probably should have kept your nose in your own business.
But we did have a conversation about her drug usage a while after that night at my friend's house, and she had admitted to doing it.
What did she say to you?
And she said she was going to continue doing it because she liked it. And I told her I do not agree with it.
Fine, you can have to agree with it. You're not her moral police. As long as she's not doing it in your home. It's not your business, but that's not slander.
No, what happened was...
It's not slander.
Okay. Well, I was talking about a different incident.
Well,
there's something also very different that happened with work.
Do you have witnesses from work?
I do not have witnesses from work, but I do have my suspension paper. I got suspended because they were very good friends with this guy at work.
Listen to me.
Who?
That's all hearsay.
Even though I have a document saying that I was suspended?
Okay, whether you were suspended or not, I have to have a witness to tell me why you were suspended.
Well, the paper says why.
How do I know if the information they got from them is the only reason that they had to think that you were using drugs? How do I know that? That's not legal in a court. You can't use that as evidence in a court. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, fine. They owe you $320 for their share of the security deposit and the bills that they have. And next time, you have to be careful when you talk about somebody else's reputation. Do you understand? That's all.
Crystal Kim says former roommates Marcus Thompson and Darian Harris won't return her furniture. Crystal also claims that Darian attempted to sexually assault her.
Miss Kim, how long have you known the defendants?
About a year.
And there came a time when you moved into an apartment with them. They already had the apartment.
Correct.
And when was that?
June 1st, 2007.
Did you have your own bedroom?
Yes, I did.
And you were supposed to pay rent?
That was not the agreement.
You going to live there free?
No.
Well, either you live there free or you pay rent.
What the agreement was if I were to move in, I would pay for utilities, I would pay for gas, I would pay for the cable, I would pay for the internet, the phone.
So you were going to pay all the utilities?
We shared the gas, and then I paid the majority of everything else, correct?
Is that your agreement?
No, that was not the
What was the agreement?
The agreement that we had when Crystal moved in with us, it was correct for internet, phone, cable, and some grocery.
Okay. When did you move out, by the way?
January 15th, 2008.
And I assume you have proof that you paid all those expenses while you were living there?
Yes.
Great. So that was the agreement. She wasn't going to pay rent. Phone, cable, internet, and buy groceries.
Yes.
Your claim is that when you moved in, you bought some furniture, and they were supposed to pay you back for their 2/3 of the furniture. When you moved out on January 15th, 2008, you left the furniture there, and they refused to pay you for it, and they had never paid you for it. The defendants say that you did not pay rent. You used the word rent while you were there. You lived there for 9 months, and they're keeping the furniture. That's your defense.
Yes.
You also claim that one of these two young men assaulted you.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that harassment. So I'd like to see your checks for the phone bill, the cable, and the internet from June until January.
All the transactions were done in cash.
Then just give me the receipts.
I have the receipt of the furniture that was purchased on my
I'm not
credit card.
interested in the furniture. Listen to what their defense is. Their defense is that you lived there free for 9 months, and they let you live there free without paying these expenses that you were supposed to pay because you had purchased furniture. Am I reading your defense correctly?
Yes.
I mean, is that true? Pay the phone bill.
She did.
And she paid for groceries?
That was breached.
When?
That was breached the second month that she was there. Crystal purchased groceries 2, maybe 3 times at the most. And then it became a situation where she just purchased food for herself. And I also want to add that she was only...
Just a second. Did you have that discussion with them?
No. I moved in. I paid for groceries for everybody. Everybody was fed. It got to a point where, after a while, I was never even there. I was working 2 jobs. I went to school full-time. I was never home to eat. I was never home to go grocery shopping. The agreement, when I moved in, was nothing about groceries at all.
Well, you already told me you bought food for everybody.
I did, but I just help out.
But that was your agreement. That was your rent, Miss Kim. That was your rent, whether you were eating there or not. Then you should have gone back and said to them, listen, we have to redo this agreement because I'm not here and I'm not eating. So I don't want to buy groceries. I have a bedroom. I'll pay something towards the rent on the house or the apartment, but I'm not going to buy groceries because I'm not eating here.
I also gave them money for rent.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, fine. You didn't tell me that. You told me you didn't give them money for rent.
The agreement was I didn't have to pay rent, but I still did.
How much did you pay them?
Whatever they asked me. One time they wanted $200. Next month they wanted $100. Our rent was only $500, so it was split between 4 people.
Who was the 4th?
My girlfriend. Well, she was a girlfriend. Her name is Tiffany.
Did she give you money?
No. I personally never witnessed or accepted rent money from Crystal. And just a quick point, Crystal came home every night. It was never a night when she ever didn't come home.
Did you ever accept any cash from her?
In situations where we needed help with the utilities, never for rent. Rent was always handled by Darian and I.
Whatever it was, you accepted cash from her?
Small deposits, Your Honor.
Whatever. All right, you have to give the furniture back. Do you understand? Furniture goes back to her. You cannot have a loose kind of arrangement like this and expect somebody else to figure out. You're supposed to have a contract. It doesn't always have to be in writing. It should be in writing.
Yes.
But you have to have a contract. You pay $40 a week, plus your own phone. You pay $200 a month, plus a quarter of the utilities. You can't have this nebulous arrangement and then expect me to figure it out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Put your hand down. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Perfect. So she's getting her furniture back 5 days.
They've damaged the furniture.
Listen, you shouldn't have left it there any longer than you had to. 5 days from today, you get your furniture back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Put your hand down.
Okay.
5 days from today, she gets her furniture back. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, you want to give me this assault in 30 seconds or less? Now, Miss Kim, you want to give me this assault in 30 seconds or less?
Sure. One night, Friday night, October, we went out to a bar. Probably 9 o'clock, we all got home from work. We all went, we had a couple of drinks. We came home and we watched a movie. When I fell asleep, we all fell asleep. Marcus and Tiffany decided to go into the bedroom and go to bed, where Darian waited outside for me.
Who's Darian?
That's me.
Go ahead.
I woke up, it was 7 a.m. He was on top of me, one hand down, unbuttoning my pants, another trying to touch the upper part of my breast.
And?
I eventually woke up. I pushed him off.
So you pushed him off, and?
I ran into my bedroom.
And that was in October.
That was October. I locked myself in my room.
Yeah, and?
Called my girlfriend, didn't know what to do.
And?
I stood there overnight, waited till everyone woke up. I grabbed Marcus, talked to Marcus, and asked him what I should do. And he told me, he's like, I'll be behind you 100%, but
you lived there October, November, and December. Are you telling me that you didn't speak to, what's your name?
Darian.
Darian?
No, we spoke.
October, November, and December?
We spoke.
Did you tell him that his advances were uncalled for and unwarranted?
Yes, and he apologized.
And you stayed there? And did you have any trouble with him after that?
I did.
Tell me.
He basically, he thought that he could do whatever. He made me feel uncomfortable.
Who cares what he made you feel uncomfortable? Getting your furniture back. Stop with the nonsense. He made unwanted advances. He apologized. Everybody had a little too much to drink. You were on the couch? Were you on the couch?
Yes, I was on the couch.
Shouldn't have done it. Stopped. Didn't assault you in any way. Didn't
touching my breast,
didn't.
And getting down my pants is...
Did you call the police?
He told me not to.
Did you call the police?
No, I didn't.
Did you stay there for 3 months?
Yes.
Goodbye, Miss Kim. You get your furniture back.
26-year-old Ebony Dean is suing the mother of her late husband's son, Taishra White, for the cost of her stepson's orthodontist bills.
Miss Dean, you were married to the defendant's former boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And your husband passed away recently. They had a child together.
Yes, ma'am.
The child was primarily living with you and your husband at the time of his death. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time he was about 13?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is he now?
13.
13. This is your lawsuit. While he was living with you and your husband, you got braces for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he needed them.
Yes, ma'am.
And you took out a loan.
Yes, ma'am.
In order to do that. Your husband is no longer here. You want his mother to take over the responsibility of the rest of the loan.
Yes, ma'am.
And to that, his mother says she is not responsible for the loan because she never signed the loan papers.
Correct.
Okay. Can I see any paperwork that you have from the dentist?
Yes. This is the recommendation to get the minor braces due to he had a...
Just a second. Let me read. I can read it. So this was the referral that was done in May 21st, 2007.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, was he in fact living with you, or was
yes,
he
full
was living with you and your husband?
Yes.
Okay. How much was the total bill?
The total bill was $3,000 some odd dollars, Your Honor.
Yes.
If I could say something, please?
Yes.
About the recommendation and the dentist bills and all the records, I have never seen any of that.
Doesn't make any difference.
And about the...
You paid. I read your answer. You paid, according to you, what you thought you could pay, which was $800.
To keep the peace, Your Honor.
I don't care whether it was to keep the peace or not. It has really nothing to do with the loan, Miss White. It has nothing... Listen, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with the loan. It has to do with your responsibility as a parent to give your child whatever necessaries your child needs.
Your Honor, I understand that completely.
No, you don't. I don't think you do at all.
Your Honor.
Just listen to me. Who are you?
I'm her husband.
It has nothing to do with you. Judge, listen to me. Has nothing to do with you. This is not your child.
Yes, it is.
Has nothing. No. It has nothing
He is
to
my
do.
child.
No.
He stays with me in my house.
I don't care whether he
I've been
stays with
raising him
you.
since he was-
Listen to me. It has nothing to do with you because you have, at this point, no financial responsibility with regard to the child's dental care.
I do, too. He's in my house. I'm married to
Okay,
her.
listen, this is not a discussion that you and I are having. We don't have discussions. I'm telling you what the law is. You have no financial responsibility for the child's braces. You don't. His mother and his father have a responsibility to ensure that the child gets whatever necessaries the child needs. Now, as far as the plaintiff is concerned, I'm telling you what the law is.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing to do with her obligation under the loan. She is suing you because the child who required braces, because I must assume, and if you don't think that's true, you could sue the dentist for malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
The child that I must assume needed braces as a necessary, just like food, clothing, shelter, medical care, that's a necessary. Put him out, please.
I just had a question. Mama,
I don't answer your questions.
Medi-Cal pays for them. He is on medical.
You're not paying attention.
Sir. Yes,
you want to talk instead of listen. Just as your husband has no financial obligation to this child, absent a showing that the state is paying any money for the child, neither does the plaintiff when she was his stepmother.
Okay.
She took on that responsibility because I assumed that the child's father couldn't get a loan in his name. She assumed that responsibility while she was married to your former boyfriend. She was the child's stepmother.
Okay.
She is no longer the child's stepmother, a situation that came very close to home because I understand that you don't think that she should have any visits with him.
No, that's not true.
In any event, you are responsible, Miss White, for necessaries for your child.
Yana, can I say something? I
Yes,
haven't been
now
able to
you can say
anything.
something.
Okay, Malik had Medi-Cal at the time. Now, when you have Medi-Cal, there's certain points that you have to, come up to with your mouth for them to say that they can have them. Well, Medi-Cal denied him because he didn't have enough points. So
Right.
Medi-Cal said that, he didn't need them.
Let me ask you this question, ma'am. You think you're a good mother?
Yes, I'm a very good mother.
Well, then I want you to think about this. Because he didn't have bad enough teeth to qualify for free braces, do you think that that means that the child didn't benefit from having braces? That requires a yes or a no.
No, but I mean, could you let me talk a little
No,
bit?
I want you to. You think that these people put braces on your child
No,
because he didn't need them?
That's not what I'm saying, Your Honor.
Then I want you to tell me what you're saying. Do you think
Okay.
that his father and his stepmother obligated themselves financially because they paid for a substantial part of this loan
I wasn't
back?
involved
I'm
in-
speaking. Because they wanted to torture him?
No, Your Honor.
Do you think that they put on the braces because a private doctor said that your son could benefit from having braces?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, please let me say something, please. I'm begging you.
Go ahead.
The thing is that I wasn't involved in the process at all. When they told me about the loan and everything, they had already did everything.
Fine.
They didn't.
It has nothing
I
to
could
do
have
with
went and
the
got a
loan.
second
Excuse me, Your Honor,
opinion.
can I Put your hand down. No.
I could have went and got a second opinion. We could have went somewhere else to try to get something that we both can afford. I have 3 other children. I wasn't involved in anything. It was all about a control issue. Oh, we're doing this. Here, you pay this. Involve me in something.
Listen
and
to
then she
me
wants
carefully.
me to pay all of it.
Listen to me carefully. She wouldn't have come here if the child's father was still alive.
No, she wouldn't.
Now,
have.
just listen to me. She wouldn't have come here if your child's father was still alive. If she came here, I would have said, listen, he's a parent, just like she is. You obligated yourself to pay for this. Child's father, he pays for it. But she has no responsibility to pay for the necessaries for your child.
She's
the
been
theory,
paying half all this time.
It has nothing to do with the loan. You're not understanding me. Your head is fixed in the loan. It has nothing to do with the loan.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it through to you. You don't understand. These braces are necessaries, just like you give your child breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
And as the parent that's left, you are responsible in the law for all the necessaries of this child. All of them. She's not responsible anymore for anything with regard to this child. You are responsible for everything, having nothing to do with the loan. The only reason she had the loan is because of her husband. You are responsible for your child's medical and dental care. And there's an outstanding balance now of $1,127. That's your responsibility. And if
All
your
of it?
husband, all of it, all of it.
So she didn't assume responsibility in paying half of it?
It's not her. No, it's not her child. It's your child. It's your
So
child.
she can go out and get a car, and he totaled it, and here, you pay it because this is your child, without consulting me at all.
No, a car is not a necessary. Put your hand down. A car is not a necessary. If your child, however, needed an emergency appendectomy and they took the child to the hospital and there was a $20,000 medical bill and the child's father died, you would be responsible for the entire $20,000 medical bill because you are his mother and you are the only surviving parent. And whether they consulted you and you could have gotten the appendectomy cheaper or not, it doesn't make any difference. It's your responsibility. You are his mother, not hers. So it would have been his father's if he was alive, but he's gone.
Wow.
That's the law. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,127. Thank you, Your Honor.
những cái luật mới về xuất khẩu lao động tại đất nước Nhật Bản dành cho những người lao động mà chúng ta cần phải nắm rõ. Thì hiện nay cái vấn đề tu nghiệp sinh và thực tập sinh đang còn là rất là mông lung, bởi vì rất là nhiều yếu tố và pháp luật hai bên cũng đã thường xuyên thay đổi các cái luật đối với những ai mà tham gia cái chương trình tu nghiệp sinh tại đất nước Nhật Bản. Thì năm 2017 thì đã có những cái luật mới, và những cái luật mới đó là gì? Thì luật lao động mới sẽ được áp dụng trong năm 2017, đã áp dụng trong năm 2017 về cái chương trình là tu nghiệp sinh tại Nhật Bản. Vậy thì có những cái điểm mới nào và những cái điểm khác biệt nào trong cái luật của các năm khác? Thì như trước đây, cái luật mới đối với tu nghiệp sinh tối đa là phải thời gian là 3 năm. Nhưng mà đối với hiện nay, cái luật mới thì cái tu nghiệp sinh đã lên tới cái thời gian là thành là 5 năm. Thì năm thứ nhất được gọi là thực tập sinh kỹ năng số 1. Năm thứ hai, thứ ba thì được gọi là thực tập sinh kỹ năng số 2. Và năm thứ tư, thứ năm thì sẽ được gọi là thực tập sinh kỹ năng số 3. Xin cảm ơn tất cả các bạn luôn đồng hành và theo dõi kênh của tôi.